see that?
Recording is on.
Recording
is on.
Not yet.
I can't see it. No.
What channel did you use in Slack?
I don't know, to tell you the truth. I'd have to look it up. Hold on a second. Let me choose what you want to share. Entire screen. And, all right, I've got it up on my screen. Can you guys see it?
No.
Did you hit share screen?
Yeah.
We do not see it. What was the date you put it in Slack?
I don't know. I sent it to you and George and Dale.
All right, give me a minute. If you want to start talking about it, and I'll see if I can find it here.
It says screen sharing failed. All right. Well, anyway, I had gotten some information from, well, this kind of came out of a past state's call one night. Everybody seems to be having similar problems relative to getting activists organized and, more involved and engaged. And so I had asked Susan Sigler to forward some information to me that she talked about that night. And between it and a number of things that we're already looking for, I put together a kind of a shopping list, if you will, with the idea being that as we sign people up, we can maybe talk with them, see what they're willing to do, what their time commitment could be, and they can look at a list of things that and pick from these things that they that might be of interest to them. So it started out from, and this is just in a draft state right now. So we talked about it on the executive team and wanted to next roll it out to you guys at the region level to, get your thoughts on, whether you think this would work or help you, you and the district captains as you sign people up. But it starts with like, and I'll just give a couple of examples, but say school board, all right? And I had a commitment level for school board of say, 2-3 hours, 4 hours a month. School board meets generally once a month, sometimes twice a month. But and we've been working with the SIA people to see if somebody says, yeah, my grandson or granddaughter's at school, I'm hearing about a lot of problems, I'd be willing to go to a school board meeting. All right, where are you at? Based on their address, we can maybe give them a form that has their school board members, date and time of the meetings, something that would give them a head start. It would list all the school board members, and they would go to the meeting and then write down things that come up that are obviously controversial. And moreover, identify in the way of any voting that occurs, who voted for what. Check the box, yay or nay, next to each school board member.
Are you seeing my screen now?
Yes.
Yes.
Is that what you're talking about, Marty?
No, that's Larry Hartman's database list.
Oh.
It's an Excel spreadsheet that I sent you guys.
All right, never mind.
Anyway, we'll keep talking about it. So that's one example, and then as we collect data, you get to see how these people are voting, what they're standing for, and then come election time, who's running against them. Well, now we could take that information and get out a telepatriot or information to other people in the region, even across the state, and say, like we did in Houston, Dale, here's the school board members that are running for re-election. Here's how they voted on these issues. Pull a poll together for some of the candidates that are running for election on similar topics, and get that out to a voter base and say, get out the vote, get out to your vote, and here's some information for you that typically they don't, the voters don't have, at that school board level. They don't have enough information to really know who did what, who stood for what. Same thing for like a city or town council, county meeting. This is all focused on local. So the idea would be to control this within the region, and then for the region, with captains, we want to get a legislative liaison in every region, an event coordinator in every region. Some of those positions are identified on this form as well, so that the top people can identify what's the strategy here. What do we want to do with this? Is there something that we can sink some teeth into, and advance it then to the state team, and start to coordinate it. You guys would manage it at a region level, but it'd be a way to show a shopping list to new volunteers, any people that you get in contact with now that maybe we haven't touched base with for quite a while, and try to promote ideas for them to get involved in.
Are you looking for a response?
Makes sense?
Who's going to be doing that? The district captains or their volunteers?
No, this is as we find, you guys have an event at a gun show or something, and we're signing people up. You got basically fresh opportunity to talk to new people and say, hey, we're looking for volunteers. That'd be the time to get them, and show them a list, and get them to pick from it. Other supporters that we've got in the system. The thought is to start calling some of those people that we haven't talked to in a while, or that haven't showed up in a long time. Reach out to them and try to, encourage them to meet and talk with them, have coffee or something, and get a list, get this list in front of them to pick something they might be interested in volunteering for. But
I've got volunteers that are looking for something to do.
Yeah, that's exactly what this list would do.
So, Marty, are you saying that the list would be unique for each region based on like the school boards within that region or something?
No, the list would apply across the state to any region.
Okay.
We just want to control. We would leave it up to each region captain and the rest of your district captain team to manage those volunteers that you get, those activists. But the idea is to use this list to put in front of people who want to do something or say, what can I do? Well, here's a list of things to pick from. And it's an initial draft, but I've got roughly about a dozen, specific activities: library board meetings, school board meetings, city town council meetings, county council, block walking was discussed, where people could just get together as a team in their neighborhood and walk around and introduce themselves, find out what is bugging people in the neighborhood. What are some of the hot topics in the state of Illinois? This is our state of Indiana. This is keeping everything local. Okay. And then that could be escalated. We can use that as topics that we talk with our representatives, people who make meetings, make appointments to talk with their reps. You can use that as some talking points. We're trying to get more volunteers for Tell the Patriot missions, regional legislative liaison position. We need people that may not want to get out and walk or talk or meet people, but might be willing to do some research on the computer. We've got a lot of research activities we can look at doing. Rick's looking for a regional events coordinator. We're looking for more social media warriors and article content writers for local newspapers. based on what happened at the school board meeting or what happened at a council meeting. Ken had some thoughts about doing some podcasts. Dale's doing, the YouTube channel. We can put some of this, migrate some of this up to that level, and invite guests on to talk about information that a guy's been going to the school board meeting and he's spoke on 5 or 6 different issues, and we can have that person talk about that experience and try to encourage others to do the same thing. We need more SAIs. We need some trainers and mentors for leaders and to work with people. And then we're looking for people with educational experience that can help improve maybe some of the manuals or some of the training aids that we use. So this is just the first pass at basically everything that I could gather from a number of things that have occurred in past states and what some of the other states have mentioned in various things they're doing. And this list could continue to grow, or it could pull back if we see something's not working. The idea was just to prepare a shopping list that when somebody says, hey, I'd like to volunteer, well, what would you like to do and how much time do you have?
I just want to say something here. I've always remembered Vicki, and she said it again. She just said it a minute ago, but I've always remembered what she told me one time, that she has volunteers that want to do something, but she didn't know what to tell them to do, or what opportunities to give to them or provide to them. And that's why I think this idea of Marty's, I think, is so good, because I think this is a step toward making people aware of opportunities that we do have for them to become activists and for them to become active. And it may be a leadership position, but if not a leadership position, there are other things, and like going to school board meetings, like city council meetings, or running for the school board or whatever. I just think this could be a really great tool to use for new people coming into Convention of States. But it's really going to have to be utilized at the region captain and district captain level.
Yeah, we're trying to do this in a way that doesn't do anything more than allow you guys to kind of manage additional activists. You'll know who's doing what. You can start signing people up as they say, yeah, I'm interested in that. But we're trying to get the SAIs involved to come up with some forms and to track the data. So when you feed things back, all you're doing is moving information back and forth from them. And, when you guys decide what you think is important to your region or to your districts, how you want to discuss it. Do you want to just keep it internal? Do you want to, but the main focus here is to grow more people, because right now, I'll be honest with you, we sent out a number of email blasts, during this last legislative session. We handed out at our Surge Day all of the supporters that are in each of the districts to at least a couple dozen representatives that stopped by or that people got in touch with. And then we delivered the rest of those to their desk, basically, in the House and the Senate. So everybody got a pocket constitution and that bookmark that had, all the representatives in their district that have signed up with Convention of States. But the reality is that when there's an issue that comes up, there's a handful of people or a couple handfuls of people that, come down to the State House, or even when we send out an email blast, we've had a fairly limited, compared to the 65,000, the biggest number that we've had that have showed up on any of the records have been a couple hundred people have made phone calls when we've asked for them. And if you look at that as a percentage, it's an extremely small percentage. So we're not going to, until we get more activist engagement at the local level, and these reps start meeting us more often and seeing us engaged at various functions, it really doesn't do much good to say that we're COS. We frankly, we spent a lot of time on these petitions or these proposals rather that, had to go up in order for us to get up and testify at the State House and say we're with COS. We just ended up doing most of it. There were about 5 or 6 of us that testified on a number of bills this session because things were moving very quickly. It was a short session. We couldn't get the numbers behind us, and we just testified on our own. And frankly, that's probably just as good, because you don't want to sit up there and say that you got 65,000 people and have, one person call their rep or 2 people call their rep, in various locations. It just pops that balloon relative to our strength. So until we can build this grassroots army with more activists and get some real engagement across the state, and I know some of you guys are doing double duty in multiple regions right now, and then Gary reworked the region map, and we've got some regions that don't have any captains in them. So, all of those are things we got to continue to work on filling.
Yeah, Marty, I've got a question. I'm just kind of curious. I'm an NRA member, and so they have some things that they do through their legislative arm.
Yeah.
Whenever things come up, a certain issue or whatever that's being debated in Congress, I'll get an email, and it'll fill you in on what it's about, and then you can click a link, and it automatically puts you into a letter to your representatives. You fill out your personal information, the body of the letter is already in there, and you just basically submit it, and then boom, you're off. I wonder if we could do something like that.
Yeah, I've been talking to them because, Dale, I'm a NRA ILA member as well, and I keep in touch with our state director. And frankly, if you talk to any of those people, they've been almost solely responsible for pushing this gun bill to the governor's desk right now, this constitutional carry bill, because it died in committee. They made a bunch of phone calls. They sent that out. I signed 3 of them. I signed it 3 times. And it went to my reps at various points, during the legislative process, and they showed up in numbers to testify, and they've been hitting those guys hard all the way to the governor's office with those mails, and so those messages, and so I think they've been probably because the state police were against this, the sheriff locally here and a couple other sheriffs came in for the final testimony. They actually said, look, we got some logistical problems with this bill, but we got to solve those in some other way, because we swore an oath to uphold the Constitution of the United States and of the state of Indiana. And this is a God-given right in the state of Indiana, and we cannot be opposed to it. But by God, the state police got up there and they were opposed to it. And the governor appointed the superintendent of the state police, and he's thinking on this. And right now, as of today, he has done nothing, but come tomorrow will be day 7. And from what we're hearing, I talked to the ILA guy today from the NRA, and he said he's not going to sign it, but he's not going to veto it. So he's just going to let it, come into law, is what they're hoping and what they've been told. And so he can, walk out of here in a couple of years saying, well, I never signed it. I wasn't for it. But he never vetoed it. So it becomes law even if he doesn't sign it.
But Marty, we have, as Commissioner of States, don't we have the ability to do what Dale's talking about?
I don't think so. What this is, Dale,
is that what voter voice is about?
Well, I talked to Paul about that, and it's not the same type of thing. This thing gets into it's more structured like a lobby mail. It says specifically what we're for, why we want this. And it automatically then goes to those reps.
I thought if the bill was approved by national, I thought we had the ability to do this. We had the
this bill, as it turned out, this bill didn't, in its current form, never even got out in the public eye until it got enrolled.
Well, I'm not talking about this specific bill, but in general, I thought we had, if it's an approved piece of legislation we do have the ability to do what Dale was talking about.
Yeah, I don't think it's the same thing, but I'll continue to follow up on that. The only way I can think to do it would be to forward some of those emails to Paul or Brenda or somebody and see how close it gets, because again, I don't have access to that
All right.
voter voice.
What about,
The question here is this something, you region captains, is this something you can utilize, that what Marty's described? Is this a tool that you think you can utilize and work with?
I think it's great, and I would definitely like that list. I've got a lot of volunteers that I don't even call anymore because I can't make them active anywhere. They want to go to something. They want to work at a table or, be active that way. For me to say, well, get on this list, and if they ever need you to make a phone call, they'll call you. Well, that's not being active as far as they're concerned. That's getting on a list. But I would like some of my DCs to be able to do some of that stuff too, because they're not that active, I don't think. They do the minimum. Some of them are real good and real active. But I've got a new one coming on, just starting training, that has experience in public speaking and that kind of stuff. And I'm really planning on using her, and she would be a great one to go to the State House and talk.
Yeah, and some of the district captains, if the question to ask all of them is, about their relationship with both their representatives, and if they don't have one, that the representative would see them across the room at a meeting or something, at a GOP meeting or a Democratic meeting, whatever side they're on, and come over and say hello to them, then they've got to start meeting with those people more often, and we got to build those relationships between now and next year's session.
Yeah,
but
she actually signed a petition at our table at the Allen County Fair, and I just heard from her here lately, and her reason was she has finally gotten so angry about what's going on that she's finally said, I am so mad, and I want to be so active because I need to make this stuff stop, and I think she would do good with the school board too. But so I'd like to have that list for my next meeting with my district captains, and my volunteers. I'm inviting them to the meetings now too.
Yeah,
so,
you just touched on something, Vicki, that I don't know if this was a question I had for you too. When I sent these email blasts out, I got about a dozen, give or take, responses back to my email account. That's on my COS Action email account, just from people thanking me. Most of them just said thank you, and I followed up with everybody and said, appreciate the thoughts and the words, but make sure you call your rep. Even though that's what it said in the email blast. I got a handful that said, I called them, I'm on it, thanks a lot. But I got the majority of them, over 50% of them, were people complaining about stuff going on in this country at the federal level. And I got back to every one of those people and I said, look, let's focus on Indiana. We got these same issues in many cases here in Indiana. We can't do anything about the federal level except come election time. Vote out your congressional representative, vote out your senators, whatever, you feel you're not getting what you got. But bottom line is we got to work this truly at the grassroots level up, because the reps are not hearing en masse from people. They only hear and act on things that people that bug them. We had 5 buses of teachers that showed up and scared the pants off of a significantly Republican senatorial committee on this education bill. And these are people that don't even vote for those Republicans, and they ran like chickens. And so, because nobody else is showing up in that kind of force. And we got to get prepared. That education bill is going to come back again next year. And there's a lot of parents that are finally getting riled up about it. they're starting to go to school board meetings, and a lot of those parents aren't, COS members. So if we plant a seed with a COS member at a school board meeting, and other people are together, that COS member can start telling those people about COS too,
Right.
and we can start signing them up. So there's a lot of things we can do, but we just need more bodies out there, working the system.
Unfortunately,
I'm
the
getting the
teachers
people. I just got to put them to work. I got to have something for them to do.
What'd you say, Larry?
well, I think unfortunately the teachers, the union, have deep pockets. They can rent the bus. They can get the people onto a bus. People will do things if you're going to take them someplace.
Yep.
Another thing, if they're going to have to drive 50 miles by themselves to the State House, and they don't know how to get around down there, where the teachers are taking them in a bus and leading them by the nose.
Yeah, the interesting thing was that 3 of those buses were school board buses or school buses.
Yeah.
Now, how the teachers union get to use those school buses,
Yep.
But
I think your list, I would like to have the list too, because I don't believe I've seen it. That's why I was asking if you did it via email or Slack, because you just don't really have anything for a volunteer to do until you have a gun show or until you have an activity within your region or in your house district. So they just kind of sit there and die on the vine.
right.
So I would like nothing better than to be able to, when I talk to someone to become a volunteer, I have, well, here, take your pick. We've got lots of things you can do. Find a niche.
Dale, do you know if we can do an email blast in which we say, we're looking for people to go to a school board meeting or library board meeting, meets on, second or fourth Wednesday of the month. Can we send out an email like that, or do we just have to convey that at a meeting after we get the people together?
Well, I think we can send out an email like that as long as it's informational. But the question is it how many people is it gonna go to? Is the question with our email system.
Well, we could try it and see what happens.
Yeah.
I mean, I think this is a good idea because a lot of people, I think, are not as motivated about convention of states because they think, well, Indiana's a past state. But if you say the school board's doing stupid stuff, maybe there's a lot of people who would say, hey, I'd go to a school board meeting.
Yeah. Paul is working with National on a revised petition that indicates, the new states all the states that have signed now, and restructuring it so that it's a news flash type thing, and that so and so am your constituent, and I support Convention of States, and here's an update on Convention of States, so that they can all see the growth and what's going on in COS. Hey, Gary, I'm slacking this to you right now. Again.
Okay.
And it's in the executive group.
Okay.
It's a PDF.
Got it.
Okay, I think what I'm hearing here is that it's a good idea. It can be used. It's needed. We just got to get it into a format where everybody can utilize it. So I think we're getting the answer we were hoping for, right, Marty?
Yeah, and I certainly would welcome. This is a quick draft. I mean, we've spent a couple weeks kind of pulling this together, going through other documents. I've gone through some of the training, so this picks up some things. I don't reference the training back on here, but it was basically to just create something that and if you guys see anything that you want to add that somebody comes up with, or something that's in your region, add it. Let's. It's all about just a shopping list we can show people and say, what do you want to do? Here's the things we need. You can focus on, it describes what the effort is a little bit. And then I took a whack at throwing some hours per month in there so that people can kind of get an idea of what the time commitment would be.
Hey, Marty, I'm pulled up a document here that I have routinely sent out to all the new district captains. It's called Menu of Volunteer Activist Activities. It's like a 2-page printout with a bunch of links on it, and it's talks about talking to friends and family, your representatives. It's got a whole bunch of sounds like similar type things on it.
Yeah. Now, things like that were on the COS University, there's a volunteer, training, couple volunteer training modules that are about extending the vision and the word about COS, and what COS is. That's all good. I didn't overlap that into this. This was more like local political engagement.
Okay.
But if you see anything on there that we want to put on, that's fine. I mean, I have no problem, just giving them anything and everything that we've got.
We ought to look at that. I think we ought to look at that, Marty. Have you seen that?
Yeah. No, in fact, I was going to ask you, Dale, would you forward that to me and I'll take a
I
look
will.
at it?
Yeah.
Can you put that on the RC channel?
Yeah.
There you go. Did you pop that up, Gary?
Yeah.
Can you make it as big as possible?
I will.
Now this is what you put out, Marty. Is that correct?
Yeah.
No, I've not seen this.
There you go.
It might have been too big.
Yeah, that's a little too big. Shrink it one more time. Yeah, there you go. You're getting okay. If you go to that box that says 150% right now. Yeah, and just make it like 170 or something. See if you can just click on the number and type in what you want. There you go. So this is kind of what we're talking about. We would tell them, here's the objective, identify issues and record votes, complete a form. We're going to try to get some forms put together that'll help them, and list everybody as well as dates, times, things like that, the commitment, and then just some general comments. So,
Yeah, Marty, I just posted that document to Region Captain Comms.
is that on the Indiana channel
Yeah.
or Workspace? Region Captain Comms.
Yeah, you're not in that channel, Marty.
Yeah,
and
I'm not in
Dale.
that.
It's just region captains.
All right.
You
Can
can
you
maybe
just can you send it to general or something?
Yeah, I can send it to you directly.
Yeah, that'd be fine. Yeah, I'm happy to, add to this. Any comments you guys have, take a look at it. And Gary, you can probably post this to that region captain.
Yeah, I can do that. And so one of the things that you could do is have you could have your district captains, or in your region you could put on details under the in that last column, maybe about what day and time that the the library board meets, the school board meets, the city council, town council, things like that, so that people know specifically when it is for the city where they live, the county where they live, whatever. And really think about, if there's somebody that's passionate about a particular thing, get them to commit to go to those meetings on a regular basis and report to the region at your region gatherings.
Hey, Gary, I'm trying to save everybody that's on this call some work. So, because you guys are busy enough as it is, but the SA, Larry Hartman and Jerry Rowe are working on a big database that has pulled all that together. So really all we'll need is somebody, the person's name and contact information and what they're interested in. And they can get that information given to them out of this database with links and on a form for them to fill out. And we can get it right to them, and we'll copy the region or district captains so that they know that, they got it. And then it'd just be up to managing that person, touching base with them regularly. Did you get to the meeting? What do you got? Because the idea would be that they would go to the meeting, fill out the report, the vote logs, everything else that's on the form, and then send that back to their district captain. And then the district captain would be the first line. And this is just our thoughts right now. So this is all subject to further input. But the district captain would be the first line to say, hey, this is some hot stuff. This is because, they're not going to school board meetings. So now here you got a volunteer going to school board meeting or whatever, telling them what's going on. And the district captains can determine whether they want to, roll it up to the regional captain, who can include it in reports or, start to work on a strategy within your region. What's hot? What do we want to follow? Do we want the district captains to follow up on these issues that are being discovered by some really grassroots people with those representatives that represent that school board? Because halftime these guys, I'll tell you, the Democrats had swore that they never heard of any of these problems. There were no problems like this on pornography in the schools or CRT or any of this. None of this was ever taught, according to the Democrats on the school committee. While this bill was going through, they've never heard this before. It's all us. It's all the Republicans making this stuff up. So, and maybe that grassroots person wants to go and meet their rep. That'd be great. The more people meet their rep, the better.
Mm-hmm.
I got a question. If we get volunteers to do these kind of activities, is there any place that this stuff gets logged for them? I mean,
yes. Yeah, that's ultimately when you guys decide what you want to roll up, it'll ultimately get to the SAI, and then we're going to create an overall log for this that will help us all look at it, ask questions, determine what strategically we want to do with our representatives all across the state.
And this would be something the volunteers could use?
Yeah, we can make that easily available to everybody.
I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, I like it too.
Marty, couldn't that ultimately be part of the COS Action app?
Yeah, I think anything that we can post it on, it'd be something to get out, share with other states potentially. Like we were talking after that call a couple weeks ago, Dale, the woman in Arkansas, she hit on a number of things that are directly related to us. I mean, big red state,
right.
Big red Senate, who doesn't do anything because they're controlled by, a number of third-party organizations like the Chamber of Commerce and groups like that. And I mean, we got the more we share, the more we'll all learn from each other.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Marty, you ever heard of a group called iVoter Guide?
iVoter Guide, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Is that a good resource?
I don't know. I've heard of it, Dale, and I've been on it a couple of times, but I can't say that I've actually spent a lot of time looking through what it does. I asked Larry Hartman to take a look at that along with a couple of other websites as he's trying to see where some of this data can come from.
Yeah.
And some of that, some of the data he's found is on that spreadsheet you showed earlier, or that database. That's a database that he has that has it's identified like all the school boards in the state, things like that.
Yeah. I had Debbie Stewart was on my broadcast tonight, COS Indiana Live, as my guest, and he told me about this iVoter Guide website or whatever. Sounded like something that we could maybe utilize. But anyway.
Yeah, that's why I put that research thing on. I mean, there's things that, Larry stumbles across a lot of stuff. Jerry has stumbled across a lot of stuff, and we need to figure out what we can use it for and how to best use it.
Yeah. I think it's a great idea. Just got to keep working at it here.
So we think it's a good idea. Marty, what other, you looking for additional input from region captains and so forth about things that might be considered to add, or what?
Well, so we've talked about the timing on this, and obviously this could continue to grow. We'd love to see any comments anybody has, including people once we get them. But the main thing is to start getting them. So if you guys think that this is in any kind of a starting shape that will help you get more people engaged, we're working, the SAIs are working on a lot of things in parallel to collect the ways to collect the data, ways to get, like I said, a form sent out. So you get a contact, you let the region captain know. We'll get a hold of Larry or Jerry, and they will send that person within a day or two a nice form to use and information about, here's the link to your school board, here's the dates that they meet, all that stuff, so that they can, pull that together. They're working on that right now, and they're getting pretty close on some things. But the main thing is we need bodies. So I don't know, it's a chicken and egg thing, right? But I think there's no reason not to start rolling this out. Just make sure that we don't let anybody hang too long. As soon as you get a volunteer, let somebody know, and we'll all work on it together to get that information back in their hands so that they can be effective.
Now, if we get a district captain that takes on some of those spots, is there anywhere on the MEP for them to fill that in, or?
Yeah, on that COS Action site on their phone,
Yeah.
there's an other category, and there's some things that fit directly. So, they should be able to fill something in and list it on that COS Action web application.
You mean in the reports?
Well, Mark, Vicky's asking about the MEP.
Oh, the MEP. Yeah,
let me look.
I'm just wondering, because the district captains do it, they're going to want to be able to log it in somewhere.
Right.
Right.
And if it's not on there, Gary, we need to add it on there, or put something on there to give them the ability to account for that.
Yeah, and
let me take a look.
I think, Dale, you've been encouraging everybody to use this COS Action app on their phone.
Right.
And, precinct walking is on there, which would be like block walking. Sent a letter, spoke to a legislative assistant, wrote a blog article, other, let you put in anything you did. We can get this list expanded if we hit on some of these things and put school board meeting in there, or put, city council meeting in there or something like that.
Yeah, the thing is, once it goes in that app, district captains need to transfer it from that to the MEP, because that's what Dale uses in his reports. So they're actually making a report in that action app, and then that's got to be transferred to the MEP sheet.
Yeah, I think I heard somebody else say that. I thought you got the stuff that's in the COS Action app as well, Dale.
No, we need to make you more aware of the MEP. The MEP's an Indiana thing that we created, so
okay.
We need to make you more aware of that.
We do have the other category. So if they put in something in their phone that they do under other, make a note of what it is. They can report that on the MEP sheet under that other category as well. They don't have to put a description. They can just put the number of activities that would fit in that other category. So if they go to, 2 school board meetings for the month, that would be 2 activities they could report.
So you're saying on the MEP, just note it in the other.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, Gary, I mean, from what we talked about before in these meetings, I've been doing that for a couple of weeks where I'm really pushing, putting it into that COS application app. And then those reports have been coming to me through an email like we discussed. And I've been adding all of their efforts into the MEP so they don't have to do it. And it's worked well for me.
Good.
That's good. That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
I'm even using the COS Action app.
I know.
I've
I see
already
your,
entered 2 things just this evening.
Yeah, and I think the more we can encourage the captains to spend the bulk of their time developing relationships with their reps, as well as then onboarding new activists and keeping on top of them. That those are the most important things.
Well, we ask a lot of a district captain and a region captain, but most definitely the relationship with the legislators is one of the key things. This most definitely one of the key things.
Thomas, I don't think I've heard from you. You got any comments?
Who, me?
Is there another Thomas on the call tonight?
Oh, gee whiz, I haven't been looked. Maybe there's somebody else out here.
Okay.
I sat here and listened to this, as I usually do, and everything keeps coming back with this one. Dell, you had a what's the word for it? A spreadsheet. Well, a few years ago that our RCs would fill out.
Yeah.
What Marty showed us is basically the same thing. But we also have everything that's on there. I tell people to do anyway. I mean, this is I tell people to do things that, just like this Mission Excellent plan. That this is a short version compared to what we used to have. So, yeah, it's that's why I don't talk anymore. My mind goes away. I tell people, just like the young man I had in my house today, I was trying to recruit him into the organization. Gave him my business card, and he wanted to know everything about us, and he wanted to know what I wanted him to do. Go to a website, send a petition if you want. I don't want. If you like what we're doing, go forward. I don't twist their arms. Because some people get very upset if you try to force them to do something. And I'd rather have them make up their minds. Just give them the information and go on and go get somebody else. I'm sorry. I'm just. You haven't heard from me yet lately?
Yeah, well, Thomas, I think that what you're saying is very true in a lot of respects. But maybe putting a list in front of them and giving them that choice to look at the level of effort that's involved, look at the topics that are there, and then they pick from that list. It's all things that we all would expect everybody in COS Indiana to do, but we're finding so few actually do it. But the more they are proactive about selecting it themselves, maybe from a list, and then getting follow-up, getting support from the captains, that's the thought anyway, that hopefully that'll encourage more development of their capabilities and get more people involved. And if they hit on a good thing and they see COS jumping on behind it, they start talking about it, spread the word, and hopefully more people get excited about being more active in the local community.
Which brings me to my newest DC that I brought on just last week. Well, let's see. Him and his militia. Gary's talked to him.
You come with a built-in militia?
No, a real militia.
A real militia.
Yes, sir. He's now in House District 55.
So I think the good thing about this is that it gives people a wide variety of actions that are not necessarily directly COS, but are building the culture of self-governance, which is what COS is all about. It doesn't have to be talking to your state representative, state senator. It can be talking to your school board, your mayor, your county council, all those kinds of things, or your neighbors that live in your same block. So
just go down and jump on their desk.
Yeah, it's a lot easier to remind the local people that they work for us than it is the people in Washington. But are you guys getting some of the same feedback? Everybody's complaining about Washington all the time and not really looking at what's right in front of them.
yes.
Most people think Indiana is a perfect state and there's nothing wrong with it. That's the response I get.
Well, there's nothing on television about the local level. It's all federal.
Right.
Yeah, that's true. And
but they do everything in the dark.
If you get them down to the state house for a couple of days during next year's legislative session, they'll change their mind very quickly about there's nothing wrong with Indiana.
Oh, I told them, I said, there's all kinds of stuff we need to fix, but they don't hear about it. So,
although I will give you a bright spot. I don't know if you guys heard this yet, but the governor did sign a bill on election integrity that requires every machine to have paper ballot backup and for auditing purposes. And the Secretary of State is so happy that he did that because it now gives her a full toolbox to make sure that things are working right. But he went on and said that basically before the next primary election, a number of things have to be put in place that were really good. So it jumped on this pretty well. And actually, David Waters did a good job testifying on one of those election integrity bills. And you can see his fingerprint on the final version of that bill. So he did a nice job.
Marty, that's a good thing, too, I think, to talk about. And for us to talk about to people is that, somebody went and testified and the things they said in their testimony ended up in the bill. I think that's huge.
Yeah.
Because people feel like, well, there's nothing I can do. And yet really there is something people can do.
oh, Marty,
Yes.
I went to Larissa Sweet's fundraiser, and she is running against Dan Leonard for representative in the State House. She's very interesting and she's very good, and she had a lot of not too good stuff to say about Dan Leonard, but I went ahead and signed up to work the polls here in Huntington County, and they called me today and told me when my training was and what I was doing. And I questioned her again about our voting machines in the state of Indiana. And I told her that Larissa Sweet told me that it's up to the county to replace their own voting machines.
Yeah.
And when I questioned her about it, she said, I can assure you all the machines have been switched out in the state of Indiana.
Well, that's not true, and that was
Not
actually
hardly.
something that Dave Waters addressed because it is up to the counties. Some of the counties don't have the money, so he pointed to the state's bond fund, which they could literally give them a no interest loan immediately to get the machines changed out and make this happen overnight. Because last year after last year's election, after the presidential election, in last year's legislative session, they addressed this actually, and they moved it to 2029 as the deadline to get all the machines to a point where they can be audited and have a paper trail. The bill this year moved it from 2029 to 2025. And what the governor and Dave said, you can do this right away and everything else. So what the governor ended up signing is it needs to be done by the next presidential election, 2024. And he put things into place that will affect the next election in the state of Indiana in this primary. And so, that was just one of the things that there was pressure there to do something quickly.
So the state, all the machines have been switched out though.
They have not been switched out. There are several counties that do not have the capability for paper ballots or any auditable trail. And about 54% of the, I think there was the number in the bill or in the write-up that I saw, 54% of the state has machines that are auditable and have paper trails, and the rest of them, including and the rest of them, most of which are these Dominion machines that were used, that are just fully electronic. That's where most of the rest of them are. There's a handful of it's a mess all throughout the state. Every county has pretty much done their own thing. There's very few counties that have teamed up or used the same machines or anything. It's a real mess because they've left it to, and that's up to the state, the Secretary of State. She basically oversees that. So she's got a couple of opponents as well, and it's going to be interesting to see where that goes.
So these machines aren't going to be switched out before the 2022 election?
Before they will not all be switched out before this primary election in 2022, but they are required to be switched out or capable. It sounds like some of them, it's like an add-on package that they can get. So they all have to be paper trail by 2024.
Yeah, Marty, it's called VVPATS, and it attaches, I think I read where there are like 59 counties out of the 92 counties that use microvote machines. I know we do in the polls that I work, and there's no way you can trace an individual vote. But when they put this VVPAT patch into these computers or into the machines, you'll be able to. It's a little printer inside the machine itself, but like you said, it's not going to be required until the 2024 general election.
Yeah, and when you vote in 2024 in that presidential election, you will be given a hard copy showing what you voted for to verify it, like a receipt, and that's what they're going for, which will be really good. And then what he did this time too is that they have to include, in order to get an absentee ballot, you have to include the last 4 digits of your Social Security number. You have to provide a driver's license ID. You have to do a number of things where they can, have more information to track you down and look for, overlaps.
Yeah, Marty, even that may not be the end. Didn't I just read that it was like Arizona or somebody that passed a nice election integrity law and it was just struck down by a judge?
Yeah,
that's correct.
Yep.
That's the 4th one he struck down.
Yeah, I'm sure somebody's going to challenge this too, probably. I mean, that's what the other side does.
Yep. The fight will go on.
Yeah.
It's going to be a battle all the way.
But I don't know how many of you know Diane Gomez, but she's been leading an effort in Indiana on election integrity. We kind of kept this under the radar because they're collecting a lot of data. They've already turned over some of the information to the sheriffs. The sheriffs are putting warrants together now, going after people who committed crimes and fraud based on the data. And there's another big round of canvassing going on. Several of us down here have participated in that, and many other counties around the state. But they used a guy who has some algorithm that looked at the polling information and initially pointed to like 4 or 5 counties, and that's where we focused because there were 113% more votes in Hamilton County down here where I live than there are registered voters in the presidential election.
But imagine that.
Yeah. I mean, typically even in a presidential year, you get 30-40% of the voter turnout. We had 113% of all the people on the polls on the voter logs.
During my FBI days,